Hello everyone, welcome to the Focus Weekly. Uh, I'm going to take the discussion on the important issues from the module of International Relations and Security, uh, which were in the news in the last week. So, today I'm going to discuss the issues like the issue of H1B visa, which has been in the news, US decision to come out of the Paris climate talks, decision to come out of WHO, relevance and the significance of WHO, very important and relevant for this year pre-exam, the issue of IMAC, India Middle East Economic Corridor. So these are the topics we are going to discuss in this particular session. Also, America's trade policy that Trump has decided to go for, tariff war with the countries and how it can have its impact for India. So the kind of questions which can be there from these topics in pre and mains. So more focus for this session will be on the pre-exam, that what kind of questions can be there from these topics in the pre-exam. Let's continue our discussion with the first topic, that is the H1B visa debate. So what you need to know from exam point of view is, the question can be on what exactly H1B visa is. There can be statement based questions regarding the H1B visa. There is a very important term which is there in the newspapers, if you have read it, that is the STEM. What exactly STEM stands for? So I'm predicting this can be your question in pre this year, that STEM stands for which four things, STEM stands for what? There can be four options because the H1B is in the news. So, and what are the advantages, what are the challenges? This can be your question in your mains exam, but from pre perspective is key facts about H1B visa. Okay, in which context it is in the news? Because Trump in his speech said he'll going to limit the H1B visas. So how it will going to have a impact on India? Because a lot of Indian professionals go to US based on this visa program itself. So first thing you need to know is it's a temporary visa, okay, not a permanent one. Okay, so it is being given to hire educated professionals holding at least bachelor degree. So it's a temporary visa program which allow the US employers to hire the professionals. And as I said, what this STEM stand for? STEM migrants. Who are these STEM migrants in US? STEM stands for those who hold degrees in science and technology, engineering and maths. Okay, so M stands for mathematics, science and technology, engineering and mathematics. This is what the word STEM stands for. Okay, so it is, duration is for 3 years. It can be extended for another 3 years. So maximum you can be at this, you can be in US on H1B program for 6 years, then you have to come back and you have to reinitiate it. Okay, so because of its high demand, there was a cap, and now Trump administration has decided they are going to reduce the H1B visa program. Okay, so it has its own merits, that it helps in talent utilization, economic contribution. These are the points for mains. Okay, so nothing, it is just the factual things which are written, what are the merits and what can be demerits of this. But from the pre point of view, important is to know the term STEM and the important facts of H1B visa, that what exactly it is. So this can be there for this year pre. Okay, so second topic of our discussion is America's first trade policy. Okay, so let's take the discussion on this particular topic. So let's take the second topic of America's first trade policy and its impact on India. So seems more as a topic of mains, but there can be questions from this topic also in pre, right? So prelims specific, what are the trends of US India trade? Important to know. Okay, and within this context, we need to know a bit about what exactly GSP is, generalized system of preference. Though Trump in his last term, last time when he was the president, he revoked GSP for India. So GSP was in the news at that time, but still GSP as an issue is relevant, that is generalized system of preference, and we need to know a bit about this also. So when Trump is saying, I'm going to pursue America first. Okay, first preference, first interest needs to be served of America. In that, like in the last topic, if STEM word is important, in this context, you need to remember the meaning of this word mega. Okay, this word MAGA is also a lot in the news. MAGA stands for Make America Great Again. In his lot of electoral speeches, Trump has used this MAGA word, that I'm going to make America great again. So in that, Trump is very clear. Trump is going to use tariff as a measure to serve US interests, because according to US, that countries like India and China, they are taking a lot of advantage by maintaining high trade deficit with US. Okay, so US wants to pursue protectionist policies to bring this trade deficit down. So first thing is MAGA, which is important in this context to remember what exactly MAGA is. Factual things important to know is US is India's largest trading partner individually as a country. US is few countries with whom India has a trade surplus, means we export more and we import less from US, so we have a trade surplus with US. Okay, fact how much it is not that important, but important is to know that we maintain trade surplus. Okay, US is the third largest investor of FDI. Okay, in general, if we can remember what are the major exports India is having to US and what are the main imports, but important from the point of view is that US is the largest trading partner, and with US we have trade surplus, not trade deficit. Like with China, we have a huge trade deficit, and India wants to reduce this trade deficit with respect to China, though China is not opening its market for Indian goods. But India is not in a position to go for protectionist policies against China because of high demand of manufacturing goods in India, and we do not have the capability to fulfill these demand. If we go for protectionist policies with China, it will increase inflation within India. Okay, as we do not have the capability to fulfill that demand. So America first trade policy, if US will go for this, it will reduce US trade deficit with us. So US wants that India should open its market for US goods. Okay, so last time, as I said, US increased tariff on Indian exports and US revoked India from GSP. Okay, general system of preference. So what exactly is GSP? Through GSP, developed countries, US gives special preferences to the developing countries to help them to grow. But now the stand of the US under Trump was that India and China should no longer take these advantages from US, that they no longer qualify to come under the category of the developing countries. Especially for US, China should not be given such trade preferences, as China no more comes under the category of the developing country. This GSP as a system was devised to help the developing countries. Okay, so this GSP, that is the preferential trade, was benefiting India the most, but now it has been revoked. So what this GSP is a non-reciprocal, means if developed countries are giving some preferences to a developing country, it is not expected from the developing to return the favor. It's a non-reciprocal preferential treatment through which developed countries reduce their duties on products which are coming from developing countries, okay, to help them grow. But it is they who can decide on which products they want to give preference, or on the product which they want to reduce the duties. It's not for all the trade. They have under GSP, they have this power to decide on which products they want to reduce their duties. Okay, so they have preference giving countries, means those who are giving preference under GSP, they themselves will decide. Developing countries can't demand that we need the reduction, or we need that you should reduce your duties on these goods. No, only the country who is giving this reduction can decide that on which products they want to reduce the tariffs. Okay, every developed country can customize their own GSP. So these are the points about GSP, and this GSP has already been taken back by US from India. Okay, so it helps in the growth and the development of the developing countries. And important to know is this GSP system is WTO compliant? Yes, it is WTO compliant. Okay, so these things, as US is going to pursue the protectionist trade policy, so GSP is again becoming important in this context, and how US tariff war can have its impact for India. Okay, that these questions are important, these points are important for mains, that how US trade war can have its, what kind of impact it can have it on India. So for India, for sure, it will going to be a challenge to ensure that how India will going to face this new kind of policy which US wants to pursue against us. Okay, so from pre, this is what UPSC can ask you. Now, US withdrawal from Paris climate deal, more of a topic of environment and ecology, right? So it will going to be a major setback towards the effort to combat global warming. Okay, so what exactly the Paris Climate Agreement is, when it was adopted, these are the factual things. Only thing to know is that US has decided to come out of this climate deal. So from international point of view, more important is US decision to withdraw from World Health Organization. Okay, so the important discussion and very relevant question for this year pre is, as US decision to come out of WHO. So the high possibility there can be a question on World Health Organization. First thing important to know is whether WHO is a part of UN in any way. Is WHO an agency of UN? So for organization like UN, so as an aspirant you should always be aware of important things about United Nations. It is not mandatory that few organs, agencies of UN have to be in the news. Only then UPSC can ask questions on that. UN as a topic, consider it as a static part of your syllabus on which there can always be a question. So when we say United Nations, okay, when it was formed, under which charter it was formed, and UN has organs. How many organs UN have? Then UN agencies. Who are the agencies? And then UN programs like UNDP, UNEP. These are the UN programs. UN organs. General Assembly, Security Council, ICJ. These are the organs. Secretariat, Economic Social Council. What all comprises UN agencies? Is WHO an agency of UN? Is World Bank an agency of UN? Is IMF an agency of UN? Okay, these are the important questions to know. Now WHO is an agency of UN. Okay, so few facts about WHO. Yes, it's an agency. Where is the headquarter? Okay, now why Trump decided to come out of WHO is the main blame of Trump. Trump mainly blamed WHO for its failure to contain COVID. And since COVID, Trump become too critical towards WHO. Other reason that it is inefficient, and blaming WHO officers for showing biasness against the US and blaming that China has a lot of influence on the Director General of WHO. Okay, so for US it is inefficient, that it proved ineffective, failed to control COVID. It is discriminatory, that it focuses more on the developing countries and too much of funds has to be given by the developed world. And as in the last decision I said, now Trump wants to pursue mega, make America great again. But we can put a question mark that America wants to become great by ending its commitment towards the liberal world order, by ending its commitment towards the well-being of the people and the humanity, because coming out of WHO will yes, there can be some issues, there can be some criticism of WHO, but coming out of WHO will not be a proper solution. So we have to see how now US wants to pursue further, but coming out of WHO is not a solution. It will not going to make a world a better place, because WHO has done a lot of positive role too to ensure the well-being of the people. Okay, so for US, now US is behaving as a power who is only concerned about its own interests and not ready to show its commitment towards the world and the people. Okay, so these are the grounds on which US blames WHO. It is inefficient, it is discriminatory, there is a biasness, there is a Chinese influence, and too much of financial burden which we do not want to incur anymore. Okay, so if US will come out, for sure there will be funding constraints, as US is one of the biggest funder of WHO. Okay, it will going to impact the operations of WHO, and WHO is running so many vaccine programs. Okay, in the most underdeveloped and the developing countries, it will going to impact the reputation of US too, because US enjoys still US, if there's a dent on US hard power, but still US enjoy a lot of soft power, and it will going to put a huge dent on US soft power, that what commitment US is having towards the world community. Okay, US withdrawal can lead to the similar action by other countries of the world. So all these will going to be the impact. Now, from Puri point of view, what exactly WHO is? It's a specialized agency, as I said in the beginning, important to know, responsible for international health, which date was constituted, and this is celebrated as World Health Day. Now 192 member states, its headquarter. Organizational structure is not that important, but these 4 facts about WHO are very important to know about from Puri point of view. These 4 points are very important to know, and WHO is an agency of UN. So take it as a task. Learn the list of the UN agencies. Which all are the agencies of UN? Is IMF an agency? Is World Bank an agency? Okay, what is the status of IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency? Is it the agency of UN or not? Next is India-France Civil Nuclear Cooperation. It was in the news. So in this context, what is important to know is the Civil Liability Nuclear Damage Act, and which year India-France nuclear deal was signed. So it's a bit of technical topic to know about the what exactly the Civil Liability Nuclear Damage Act is all about. So India-France nuclear deal signed in 2008. Why in 2008 this deal was possible? Because India got a waiver from NSG. What NSG stands for? Nuclear Supplier Group. What you need to know about NSG is that when it was constituted in 1974. The year India went for its first nuclear weapon test. Before NSG, a treaty was signed called NPT, Non-Proliferation Treaty. Okay, do check the year in which date it was signed and since when it is effective. So NPT is effective, CTBT has yet to be effective. So which year NPT was signed? And under NPT, it was decided that P5 countries are legitimate nuclear weapon states. So what was the status given to P5 countries? US, UK, France, Russia, China. These countries got the status of a legitimate weapon state, that they can have nuclear weapons, while under NPT it was decided no other country is allowed to have nuclear weapons. Okay, that is why India consider NPT as discriminatory. Okay, So this is the stand of India towards NPT. Under NPT, a date line has been opted that those who acquire weapon before this particular date, they can keep nuclear weapon. They are legitimate weapon state. While no other country beyond this date will be allowed to have nuclear weapons. So for India, this date line is irrational and this NPT is discriminatory. So for the first country other than these P5 who was able to test the nuclear weapon was India, and this led to the emergence of a grouping called NSG. As NSG countries realized that proliferation has taken place in the world, and NSG is a grouping of those countries who hold uranium, technology and equipments. And NSG member states decided that we will give all these things to only those countries who will sign NPT. Signing NPT means country is giving commitment that country does not want to acquire nuclear weapon. And if country is ready to do so, NSG is ready to support the civil nuclear program of that country, because every country needs growth and growth requires energy, and nuclear technology is the cheapest way to generate energy and it gives clean energy too without emission of greenhouse gases. Okay. So this is the motivation why countries signed NPT to take support from NSG. India didn't sign NPT, so India was facing nuclear isolation. And in 2008, we got the waiver. Waiver means chhoot. So India is the only country who got this waiver from NSG. Only non-signatory NPT countries who got this waiver from NSG. There are these countries who has, other than India, the countries who has not signed NPT are Pakistan, Israel, North Korea and South Sudan. So these are the 5 countries who are not signatory to NPT at present. Out of these 5, only country who has got the waiver from NSG despite not signatory to NPT is India. Okay, and this waiver we got in 2008, and that's what led to the Indo-France nuclear deal in 8, as we got the waiver and France agreed to build Jaitapur nuclear power plant. Okay, but despite this deal, despite we allotted the place to build the nuclear power plant by France company Areva, the nuclear power plant has not been constructed yet. What led to this issue? Okay, so as it is written, nuclear supplier group has given exemption or waiver to India. Okay, India is not a member of NSG yet. Important fact to remember for pre. India has only got the waiver. India is not a member, and India is not a signatory to sign NPT. Okay, so despite this deal, what are the impediment? Why the Jaitapur nuclear power plant has not been built? For this, important is to understand India's CLNDA, Civil Liability Nuclear Damage Act. This act was passed by the Indian Parliament, and since then the deal is stuck. Now, our track record on industrial accidents is very bad. The victims of the Bhopal gas tragedy, they had to wait for eternity for compensation. Now the Parliament decided that victims in India, in case of an accident in a nuclear power plant, should not have to go for double sufferings. Okay, one side they are already suffering, accident is real, and they are not in a position to, they should not suffer more. For this act was framed, in which it was decided that in case of an accident in a nuclear power plant, victims should get quick compensation. Money should come in the hands of the victims. Their sufferings are genuine, and it was decided under this act that 1500 crore rupees will be given to the victims as per this law. Now the question mark is, who will going to compensate? Operator will going to compensate this money, or the supplier of these equipments will going to compensate this money to the victims? Now, who is the operator of nuclear power plant in India is NPCIL, Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited is the operator. So under this law, it was decided that in case of accident, NPCL has to compensate the victims. But there's a clause within CLINDA which says that if operator can prove that accident is because of the equipment failure, so they can pass on their liability to whom? Supplier. But they have to prove it. They cannot arbitrarily claim this. But if operator can justify this, that accident has taken place because of the faulty equipments, then companies have to pay. That is the equipment supplier company. In this case, in case of France, it will going to be the French company Arriva. They have to pay this much of money to the victim. So on this issue, deadlock took place as it became a threat for these private players that it can lead to bankruptcy. Okay, so this is basically the issue of the CLINDA law here. So quick compensation should be given to the victims. Act established that nuclear plant operator is to be liable to pay the damages, but if operator can prove that accident is because of the faulty equipments, then money has to be come from the equipment supplier company, and this became the threat for the private players, and this led to the deadlock. So operator will have to maintain the financial security of 1500 crore rupees. Okay. Now what if damage exceed beyond 1500 crores? Okay. So under this law, government allowed the victims. Government has not taken the sovereign right away from the victims. What if the compensation is required more than this? So victims' sovereign right was intact, that they can claim more compensation, but this will be decided by judiciary, that whether more compensation is required or how much is required and who is liable to pay that. All these things were there within the law CLINDA, and this has led to this particular deadlock. Now government has come up with lot of assurances for these private players that their interests will be protected, which is right now beyond the scope of our discussion. So from that topic, this much you need to know, that what NSG is, when NPT was signed, how many countries are not signatory to NPT. India is not a member of NSG. India is having the waiver in 2008. 2008 led to the Indo-France nuclear deal, and the deadlock leads to the issue of liability based on the law CLNDA. Okay, so these things are very important and relevant from pre-point of view. So let's discuss the last topic of today, India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, that is IMEC. It's short form, India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, IMEC. So what IMEC is, India, Middle East European Economic Corridor, when it was announced in the G20 summit to facilitate trade and connectivity. One, from pre perspective, its location, and very important from mains point of view, that its significance and challenges associated with IMEC. Significance, enhancement of trade. Challenge, instability in West Asia. Hamas-Israel conflict has pushed the Hamas-Israel tensions has pushed the discussions on IMEC on the back burner, and now as things are normalizing, this can be in the interest of India. Okay, Israel-Iran tensions will put the challenges for IMEC. In general, political instability. Okay, broadly, when India announced IMEC in G20, IMEC is clearly seen as a challenge to China's One Belt, One Road project. So on one side, China is increasing its influence in the region under OBOR. So China's rise in West Asia, first through OBOR. China was able to bring the two arch rivals, Iran and Saudi, on the discussion table. China was able to bring two factions of Palestine, that is PLO and Hamas, on the discussion table. All these events clearly reflects this aspect, that China's influence is on rise. Now, if I'll explain you the bigger world dynamics and world politics, US wants to reduce, US was looking forward to reduce its influence in West Asia, as US wants to focus more in the Asia Pacific region. Because US is involved, US felt that US is too much involved militarily in West Asia. So US wants to reduce its influence here and wants to focus more along the Asia Pacific region to contain China there. So US was looking forward to come out of this region, and it would have been only possible if US core allies, the two main allies of US in the region is Saudi Arabia and Israel. US was trying to normalize the ties between the two, and US has done a lot of back channel diplomacy to bring Israel and Saudi closer, and US was very close to successfully bring these two allies on the discussion table, and they were about to sign the peace deal before Hamas derailed the peace process. Because before all this, US was able to sign the Abraham Accord, where two more Arab states, UAE and Bahrain, they also gave recognition to Israel, and another major big player of the Arab world, that is Saudi, was looking forward to normalize its ties with Israel. If Saudi-Israel ties would have get normalized, it would have pushed the issue of Palestine. It would have been a setback for the issue of Palestine. So issue of Palestine was losing its relevance and importance within the Arab world, as more and more Arab states were looking forward to come closer. Okay. Now, in this backdrop, China's influence started to increase, and US was looking forward to go out of this and to give a push to China's rise. US was looking forward to bring Israel and Saudi closer, and US wanted that India to play a much bigger role in West Asia and because of that only a strategic alliance in West Asia created, that is I2U2. India, Israel, UAE, US. All these steps were seen by, all these steps we can see are being pushed by US to come out of this region by bringing its two trusted allies closer and emerging strategic ally India to play a bigger role in this region. Now China wants to make US, to keep US stuck in the region, and Iran started inching towards China when Iran joined One Belt, One Road. China also able to bring leaders of Iran and Saudi on the discussion table, and Hamas attack took place. So there is a bigger geopolitics behind this, and Iran has been able to push Hamas to attack Israel. One, this derailed IMAC, because IMAC is seen as a challenge to China's OBOR, and IMAC was announced during G20 itself. Okay. So through Hamas-Israel conflict, one, China is able to derail the IMAC. Second, China able to keep US stuck in West Asia. So these were the objectives which China has been able to achieve through this particular conflict which took place between Hamas and Israel. Now things are again, as things have again normalized, and if India will able to build and push IMAC, it will be in the interest of India, US, Israel and the West, which will be seen as a clear challenge by China. Okay, so this is what is all about IMAC, and from pre-point of view, that IMAC goes through where? That is Haifa in Israel, Saudi, UAE. Okay, so these are the locations from where IMAC will be built. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Israel, Greece, Italy and Germany. So this is what you need to know from the pre-point of view. Sorry. So this is the from pre-point of view, that is the location, and the significance and challenges I have already told you. This is the broader geopolitics of the IMAC, as US wants to build this IMAC with the help of India, keeping to for sure to counter the rising influence of China in the region, as China's presence is increasing through OBOR. So if IMAC will be successful, it will be a setback for China. If China will able to derail IMAC, it will be the increasing influence of China, which is, so this is the geopolitics which is going on within this region through IMAC. Okay. So these are the important things which were there in the news from this particular week. So we'll continue this discussion every week. Hopefully this is helping you out to prepare the IR and internal security from both pre and mains point of view. Rest of the points you can download the PDF and you can read the points. If any doubt, any question, you can ask in the comment section. Best wishes. Bye. Take care.